Cropping, when used correctly, can make a better photo. However, it shouldn't and it can't replace in-camera composition. So where's the line? In this video, we'll explore reasons to crop your photos and a caution against it. Quick tip: when waiting to cross, look around for a possible shot. I took a few shots and got this one. I like the stance of the subjects, and I tried to use this bin as foreground, but I don't think that works. So let's crop it out. For this one, let's keep it to the original aspect ratio, and let's get rid of that bin. I like to use the rule of thirds overlay to place the subjects there. The street sign is cut off, so let's exclude it as well. And I reckon just needs a slight adjustment. That looks good. The subject's torso is on the intersection. The sign there is not straight, so let's just straighten that out. And there you go. It's not the most interesting photo, but I think it sends the message across. To me, the crop definitely made it better. Another quick tip: if your streets have this middle island thing, you can plant yourself there and take photos. I'm trying to use this powerful looking poster as a backdrop, and the brick wall building also looks interesting. I should have waited until there were no cars, but since this is the photo that we have, let's try working with it. For this one, because we want to exclude the cars, let's make it a portrait aspect ratio. Unfortunately, that also cuts off the poster, but I think the photo can still work. Let's place the subjects on the intersection of rule of thirds. This window is cut off. I think it's better if we include it, so let's try that. But now with that, the trees is peeking in here and it's a bit weird. It's just a few leaves. So let's try to drag that down. Now there's too much of the street in the foreground. But yeah, we cannot really drag it up because of that tree. In that case, maybe let's try a shorter aspect ratio, like 4:5. And let's try to get a composition like before. So place the composition on the rule of thirds and try to include the window at the edge here. And now with the shorter height, we can exclude the tree. And there it is. I think the colors are quite nice. I like that the olive coat complements the brick and beige walls. And I like the different kinds of ventilation, especially these 4 windows here. I saw this restaurant from across the street and thought it could be a good backdrop. This tree is kind of blocking the scene, so I cannot really shoot from here and just crop later. So let's walk up a little bit. Now that I'm close, maybe I can use this tree as foreground. This looks okay. I like the kid sitting on the shoulders here. It is still a bit too far though, so let's crop in a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks better. Let's compare it with the first photo that we took. Okay, these are not the most fantastic photos, but the message is to still use your feet to find different kind of compositions. Don't just completely rely on cropping. This bridge has a beautiful lookout to the city. We can stop there and crop into the cityscape, but I actually noticed something on the side. The rain made this reflective surface. That looks kinda cool, but I think we can make it better. I adjusted the angle just very slightly here, and I got this. The whole cityscape is in the reflection. With the vertical nature of the buildings, I thought maybe a portrait shot would be better. And yep, I think that looks better. The negative space and the orientation makes the composition more pleasing. Since we have a lot of negative space to play with, let's try shortening it by cropping it to 4:5. I think that looks the best. Let's compare it again with the first shot. Yep, using your feet and repositioning gets you a better photo. You cannot just rely on cropping. Of course, cropping can be used for good old zooming. I got a nice foreground using this crossing button pole, but the subject is a bit too far, so let's crop in. Let's stick with the original 3:2 aspect ratio for now, and let's crop in quite aggressively. let's have the foreground fill in the first third of the frame. Even though the subject is actually in the center, it looks offset because the first third of the frame is filled in. It's looking good, but I think there's too much of the street here. I reckon we can leave it sort of there, but let's try a more extreme crop in. And with this amount of zooming in, I think we can make the subject directly on the rule of thirds line. And there it is. With this kind of crop though, I think I'm using the wrong focal length for this kind of photos. But hey, it still works. While crossing the streets, I noticed this person waiting for the tram by themselves. Thought I could get some cinematic photos. Yeah, that looks really wide with a lot of unnecessary elements. So let's crop in. I chose to crop in a lot to remove all the distracting elements, but I think it's too close and too narrow now. And so I tried some portrait shots as well. That looks more promising. There's a lot of vertical space to use here, so let's crop in. I think that's the right choice. I like that we can see the top of the trees now, and it's nice that there's a lot of vertical elements like the pole and the trees, and there's not a lot of distracting elements in it. So yeah, I like it. This person crossing by themselves make a good isolated subject. For this one, I think the initial composition is actually quite nice. I like that we can see this building in its entirety, and the scale of the surroundings really drive home the feeling of isolation. Can we improve it with a crop? Let's see. Let's stick with the original aspect ratio for now, and let's crop into the subjects. I'm putting the subject in the center horizontally and in the bottom third vertically. And now I'm looking at the street lines here. I'm trying to make them come out of the edges equally so that the walkway is centered. And there you go. The subject is actually a bit offset, but the walkway is centered, and I think that makes an interesting photo. And I also tried a square crop. It kinda looks like an album art, if I can say so myself. And of course, it's perfect for Instagram. I think I like this version the most. Of course, some photos don't really need a crop. The composition looks good. The dark sides encompasses the bright blue umbrella in the middle. Since the subjects are in the middle, our portrait crop might be enticing. But if we do that, I think the composition is not as good. The dark sides and the negative space actually add a lot to the composition. To reiterate, I think it makes the blue umbrella pop more, and makes it just a bit more special. And some photos just don't work, no matter how you crop it. As you can see, it was raining quite heavily. I thought this subject looked interesting, so I just took a snap, without really looking at the surroundings and the scene. I literally thought, hey, I can just crop it in post. So let's attempt that. Okay, so this person with the umbrella is definitely the subject, so let's crop around them. This kinda works, but I don't like the bin on the side actually, so let's crop in even more. I can make the subject in the center, but now that I look at it again, the subject is not even in focus, so I guess that's one more thing. And I don't like the distractions on the side actually. Yeah, the composition just doesn't work, I think. This might be the best I can do. Oh, the bin is still on the side here, so let's just crop in a little bit more. I don't know, I don't think I feel satisfied with this photo. So what is the actual differences between this one and the others? One thing that the other photos have in common is I thought about the composition in camera as much as possible. So for me, when composing, I'd like to have a vision in mind, then adjust it in post to suit the vision. The intents need to be there from the beginning. The cropping tool cannot help you with that. And so if you want to watch more about compositions, watch this video where I focused on making minimalistic ones. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you there.